About that. Hi, I am Dan, and I'm here. Kirk is here too from the Virtual Coffee Leadership Group. We're going to be your sort of Virtual Coffee hosts for today. So welcome to the Virtual Coffee Brown Bag Edition. A little bit of history. Virtual Coffee started as a once-a-week Zoom chat in April of this past year, and has grown into a community of devs at all stages of the journey. So we have, sorry, moved my window and lost my spot in my script here. A community of all devs at all stages of journey, meeting, mentoring, hosting events, and most importantly, making friends like all of you. Our mission is to form community, allow room for growth and mentorship at all levels, and provide a safe space for everyone interested in tech and development. To find our code of, I'm going to paste it in here too, but our code of conduct is on our website, and also our list of events and some more information is here. So I'm going to paste the link into the chat here for this is our code of conduct, and then also you can sort of browse around the site for some more information if you're interested. We just last month wrapped up our Virtual Coffee Hacktoberfest initiative, which was really awesome and very successful. And now we're working on this month of November. We're working on our monthly blog challenge, and which is a kind of fun event where we're sort of all contributing individual blog posts and trying to get to I forget what there's some sort of novel writing thing that we're co-opting, but we're trying to get to 50,000 words of total, for the group total for the month, which would be cool. And we also have a round of lightning talks coming up next week, I believe. And we have a room in there for lightning talks in our Slack. So if you're interested in contributing, there's links in the Slack in the lightning talk room. We are very glad to have all of you here with us today. I especially want to thank Keith, our presenter, and also Marie for dragging him in here with all of us. I am very excited about this particular talk, and obviously pretty much everybody these days is interacting with Git on some level or another. If you are interested in doing one of these brown bag talks, the idea of them is to be sort of casual and open to any of our members. So I put a link in there. If you'd like to submit a talk or would like to, workshop a talk or something like that, please feel free, and we will be excited to have you. I said we're recording. We're going to post this online, after the event, and during the event, if anybody has questions, drop them in the Zoom chat. That'd be fine. I'll try to keep an eye on if there's this raise hand feature, which is a little bit less visible sometimes, but I'll try to keep an eye on that too. Just as a quick intro to Keith. Keith is a father, a web developer, a Git enthusiast, a language geek, and 11-time C# MVP from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. By day, he accelerates world-changing ideas from Iowa with Nuboco, I think I'm saying that right, and teaches for Delta V Code School. And by night, he is a promiscuous open source contributor. He previously architected the e-commerce platform at J&P Cycles and Motorcycle Superstore. His open source efforts include PoshGit, a Git environment for PowerShell, Griddle, a grid component for React, and upforgrabs.net, a site featuring open source projects looking to mentor new contributors. He also has been a core contributor to libgit to Sharp, used by GitHub for Windows, and Git for Visual Studio. Keith studied computer engineering and human-computer interaction at Iowa State University and has spoken at developer events around the world. And now he is here with us today. So without any more of my babbling, I'm going to turn it over to Keith. Thank you very much, Keith.
You bet. Yeah, so hearing that out loud makes me wish that I'd cut about half of that out. Yeah, hi, I'm Keith. As many of you are aware, I'm sure. Marie just graduated from my code school a couple months ago. and has since joined a company that also works with me. So Marie spends a whole lot of time with me, which is why it's a little surprising that she wanted to spend more time with me today, but whatever. So I guess by way of just a couple of miscellaneous things, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Now, I will preemptively apologize. I'm used to teaching from, can you still hear me? My computer's been on the fritz while screen sharing. So hopefully we're good. Okay, good. So I'm used to teaching from shared screens, but since my kid is home, I'm home where I don't have my second monitor, which is at the office. So anyway, so today's gonna be a little bit weird, but we'll be fine. So Dan had mentioned Posh Git. For those on Windows, I tend to interact with Git through PowerShell, not Bash, when I'm not teaching. When I'm teaching, we use Bash for everyone because it's kind of the same environment across the board. But personally, I prefer to use PowerShell. So like if you use VS Code, you can just switch to PowerShell as an alternative shell. PowerShell is also cross-platform. So you can even use PowerShell on Mac, Linux, et cetera, and PoshGit works on there. So PoshGit is what gives me these little like status indicators in the prompt while I'm working in Git. So Git tip number one, you should customize your prompt, whether it's in Git Bash or Mac Terminal or Linux or whatever. You should definitely customize your prompt to show you information about Git while you're working. And so like normally you might get a branch name by default, but having some additional information, for example, this +2 means I have 2 files that Git doesn't know about. And so having that information readily at your disposal is tip number one. Tip number two, don't buy the old Dell XPS because the camera is down next to the keyboard, so you see my hand. So I will preemptively apologize for that as well. So for PowerShell, PoshGit is the way to get that stuff in your prompt. And it is shockingly popular for how little work I put into it. Also, Dan had mentioned upforgrabs.net. I strongly encourage, as my bio says, I am a promiscuous open source contributor. I will use a project, find something I don't like, and fix it. And y'all should do the same. It's a great way to meet other people, to open up job opportunities, to just learn more about the tools that you're using. I could go on and on and on. Sometime we might just have me come back and talk just about open source. If y'all haven't done that or anything like that, open source is a great gateway into all sorts of fun stuff. So Up for Grabs is a project that came out of the Microsoft MVP community. For those not in the Microsoft ecosystem, the MVP award is something they give to loud people every year for people who, some people because they just talk a lot about Microsoft things and try to sell their products. For me, it's because I try to foster ecosystem around their stuff, encouraging people to contribute to open source, all that kind of stuff. So this Up for Grabs started as mostly .NET projects trying to get more contributors. It has since expanded to the point where JavaScript is now our most popular tag, but we've got a whole bunch of Python in here. We've got, I don't know. The fascinating thing about this, so these are all projects that have opted in to being on our directory, as specifically saying, we want you to help us work and we will help you get into our project. So you could just go search GitHub for help wanted and find millions of issues, but these are projects that have specifically opted into this Up for Grabs directory. And so, if you're into React, let's say, so if I just search for React, so I've got 60 projects labeled React.js. So Storybook has 34 good first issues. Kibana has 93. Kibana, a little visualization tool. There's probably some interesting stuff in there. And so there's just a whole bunch of projects that have things that you could help out with. The other neat thing about Up for Grabs is that it is itself open source. So the project works by sending pull requests mostly into the projects directory here, which is just a whole bunch of YAML files describing each of these projects. And so we turn this GitHub project into a GitHub Pages website that has our little directory of projects. So so you could go, like, most of Up for Grabs was written by not me. I got it kind of off the ground, but the current design, not by me. Most of the projects not submitted by me. And so, that's the beauty of it. I get to take credit for having created it, but I don't have to do any work, and it just kind of keeps going. So we've recruited a couple other maintainers that accept the new projects, and yeah, so that would be another project that you could get yourself involved in, or more importantly, use it to find things to do.
Can I ask?
All right, so there's kind of my blurb about.
Sorry, can I ask
there's.
Up for Grabs
Go
question?
ahead.
I was just going to ask one more question
You may.
about Up for Grabs. I was just wondering if you interacted with Hacktoberfest, like DigitalOcean's thing at all with this, because I know that's one
Do
of
I
their,
interact with them? No.
yeah, I guess I
Yeah,
didn't.
they found it.
But what's that?
Yeah, they found it and thought it didn't suck, so they put it on their list, and I am chuffed that it's. And so what's neat, so like I have Google Analytics on here, and so there's a big old spike in October of folks coming to the project and looking for projects. So yeah, it's definitely one of those word of mouth kind of, it just got out there. But like the Microsoft team uses it. So most of the .NET stack is open source now. And so they will regularly talk on Twitter, hey, we just added a couple Up for Grabs issues. And I'm just like, oh, I came up with that name. And it's pretty neat to see that kind of take hold in the Microsoft ecosystem, but then also in other parts as well. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Far beyond what I ever expected to happen. I thought the project would be dead in a year. So here we are a decade later. So any questions about anything that I've talked about so far? All right, cool. As Marie knows, I will just pause uncomfortably until someone speaks up. I just have that habit from teaching. So, but yeah, so about me as a speaker, I do not have a plan for right now. I have a whole bunch of Git knowledge in my brain, and I know that there are lots of questions about Git in general that I can answer, or Git questions in particular that I'm also happy to answer. So as we move through here, I know all this stuff, so I'm not speaking for my benefit, I'm speaking for your benefit. I want you to say, hey, pause, you just said something I didn't understand, please clarify. Or that reminds me of this other thing, and let's go down a tangent and we'll see how far we get in the next however long y'all hang out. Cool?
Yeah, sounds great.
Cool. Excellent. All right, so I will also, if you Google my name and Vimeo, you will find a presentation that I believe has been shared. I believe Maria shared this for you. This is kind of a more polished presentation of some of the stuff we're likely to talk about, explaining merging and rebasing and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to go ahead and drop a link to that in the chat. So yeah, oh my ZSH. I just seeing in the chat, oh my ZSH. There's also someone who made an oh my posh that is the same sort of idea as oh my ZSH. Oh my posh also uses posh git behind the scenes to do the git interaction. So even if you're using that instead of my stuff, that's cool. Oh, hey, F sharp. Someone said F sharp. Who likes F sharp?
Kirk likes F sharp.
Maybe we'll just talk about F sharp today, because F sharp is also really neat.
No.
Does anyone know? No. Does anyone? So Kirk, did you see that dark? So does anyone know what dark lang is?
Yeah, I
So
remember
dark lang.
We went to
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. So code your backend in dark. So dark is a kind of an interesting ecosystem, like programming ecosystem. So dark was written in OCaml, which is a even more obscure language than F sharp. And so they kept running into problems with it. So they recently announced that they're actually going to rewrite their backend in F sharp as well. And these are folks who are like, they even in the blog post, like, we never would have expected to be using a Microsoft thing, because they're like, well, we're open source people. Well, it turns out F sharp is about as open source as it gets. And so I'm interested to see what the dark team's impressions of F sharp are once they get into it. Yeah, so F sharp, strongly recommend learning a language like F sharp, OCaml, Haskell, Swift, Swift, Rust have borrowed some ideas from OCaml in terms of some types, and I don't know. I'm a language geek. We're not going to talk about that stuff. So yeah, F#, highly recommended, just to learn another language, and the things that you learn there might apply back to interesting languages. And you'll also feel things. So like, has anyone heard about the JS pipe operator proposal? So the pipe operator is this idea that I want to be able to essentially say, take the output of this expression and pass it into this function. That syntax comes from OCaml, F#, languages like it. So knowing F# now allows me to see this and be like, I know exactly what they're talking about as this stuff emerges. So yeah, so keep an eye on the pipe operator. That'll also be interesting. So anyway, so get more done. So if you want to go, another Git pun. So if you want to see a more polished version of some of this stuff, that's fine. However, the basic agenda that Marie, I think, had asked, what do y'all want to know about? And so the list that she came up with so far was rebasing, cherry picking, git branch move, bisect, merge conflicts. I'd be curious to know more about what that question specifically there is. Someone had asked about Git versus GitHub, or like, I want to learn more about GitHub, but not necessarily, or not Git. So we could talk a little bit about that. Forcibly moving the head, the command you're looking for is reset. That'll move your head around. So is there anything else that y'all have heard about that you're interested in, or I guess what else do we want to talk about?
I'd probably throw in git reflog.
Reflog. I love that pronunciation. The ref log. Yes.
Sorry, I'm Canadian.
I can't tell if that was a joke or not, but I love it. I definitely.
It was, and I thought that's how you said it.
Okay. It is a log of the refs. Ref log.
I was the one who.
But no, that's good.
Brought up the merge conflicts, and
okay.
I do a lot of open source work where like there'll be multiple people working on the same repo at the same time. So like you'll want to go commit something and it's like, oh yeah, someone already committed. Like even last night on Virtual Code, I went to update our monthly challenge, and it's like in the time I wrote my pull request, IU submitted one and it got accepted. I was like, oh, okay, gotta redo mine. So
yep.
Just like what to do in those situations.
Yeah.
Yeah. The short answer is, go ahead, Dan.
Oh no, I was just going to say that sort of question comes up a lot. Working with open source stuff, keeping up to date with the upstream, merging changes in, that like interacting with especially with open source, projects in general, where you're not like where you're working from a fork are already. So there's already a level of, like a layer of, I don't know, abstraction, or not abstraction, but you're already like a step apart from the base repository. I think that would be valuable to talk about.
So how can we yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I would just add one more thing that for me at least is related to merge conflicts. I haven't quite figured out the best way to have multiple branches going. I haven't done much work that involves more than just me. But I know, at some point in the future, I'm hoping to work for a company, work on a team, and even if I just do open source, like I mess it up often when I have multiple branches. I don't want to end up with, if I'm mostly working on this one, I'm not going to be back to that one for a week, let's say.
Right.
I don't know. And then by the time I get back to it, there's a ton of merge conflicts, just kind of how to handle that.
Okay.
And
cool.
Also,
all right. So we'll just put together a list and then kind of sort them to come up with some topics. Go ahead.
to what Dan was saying.
Go ahead, Meg.
Because there's instances where you're contributing because you're working from a fork, but there's also instances where you're pushing right into the master, like right, I guess the original code base. Yeah, don't. But like
Well, so to clarify, do you mean pushing to origin, the original project, or master, the specific main branch?
That's correct. I mean pushing to origin, the original project, instead of from a fork. Just like depending on what open source project you're working with, because there's like maintainers of open source projects and then contributors.
Yeah.
So like the difference between and all that.
Okay, cool. All right. So yeah, that's definitely a thing, but pushing to branches on origin, you know, as a maintainer committer. Okay. What else? Anything in chat?
You could talk about maybe origin versus the upstream. Like if you fork, did you mention that? Okay.
I have not used the word upstream, but that would definitely come up. Yep.
Okay.
When should we use force? Okay, that's a good question. To use force. And what is force with lease? Okay. Let's make a series of these Git talks. There is so much to know, 100%. So I'm going to time out there. I am not overstating it when I say that the thing I have learned in the last decade that changed development the most for me is Git. It's not TDD. It's not other languages like F#. It is using Git to structure how I think about my work. Okay, there are other people who would say I'm crazy for suggesting that a version control tool would have had that big of an impact. But the reason I say that is because using Git forces, like, I don't commit something in Git unless I've looked at all of the related changes and seen, have I told a good story about what I changed here? Did I refactor something? Did I add a new feature? Did I fix a bug? Did I make a change preparing to fix a bug? Did I, like what did I do? Is this just a chore? Am I fixing docs? Am I reformatting a file? Because our formatting conventions have changed and I'm just going to commit only white space changes because tabs turned into spaces or whatever. And so using Git to structure how I approach the work has slowed me down and forced me to think, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? I tell all of my students, Marie can vouch for this, I tell all my students, take smaller steps. Take smaller steps. Don't change 100 files, change 2. Change 1 if you can. And if you're changing 1 file, don't change 100 lines if you can change 10 and then another 10 and then another 20. And so Git allows me to think, because I'm always working in branches and because I'm using the Git tools to consistently check in and say, all right, what's the story so far? What have I done? What's the next thing that I need to do toward this step? It's changed the way that I think about writing code. Because I used to just make 100 lines of changes and then I would say, oh, it doesn't work. It doesn't work is the least useful thing you can describe, the least useful way you can describe your program. Okay, so don't say it doesn't work. Say the function that I just defined is causing a parser error. Say the function I just started calling is throwing an exception. Or whatever the case may be. Okay, so stop thinking in terms of it doesn't work and start thinking in terms of what's the small thing I just did that went from functioning to not. Okay, the smaller the steps you take, the easier it is to keep track in your head of what are all the moving pieces. I went and got this out of the database and then I put it into a view model, and that view model went out onto the view. That's not 1 commit, that's 3. And how do you structure that thinking? And Git provides a whole bunch of tools for you to structure how you're thinking about your work. Okay. All right, so came here for Git. Yes, Meg, I know you came here for Git. Force with lease. Git stash. No, Git stash is bad. I can talk about why that is the case. Git stash is bad, kind of. Squashing. All right, so squashing, there are two kinds of squashing. There's merge dash squash, and then there's also rebase auto squash. So we can talk about both of those. Please elaborate on why git stash is bad. Okay, it sounds like I'm gonna have to come back. That's the impression that I get. Okay, so I think the and I don't know, like, I don't know if we're able to do like a poll or something, but I would be curious. The two themes in general I'm hearing is working with other people, and that's the upstreams, the forks, the merge conflicts, or working with your past self is also working with someone else. Yeah, so there's that kind of stuff. There's the collaboration part of it. And then there's just kind of local Git workflow, rebase, cherry pick, squashing, stashing, that kind of stuff. Past Dan is my worst enemy, yes. Assume future Dan is a murderer and he's gonna kill you if you mess this up. All right, so for today, would we rather focus on the local workflow stuff or the collaboration stuff? Does anyone have a preference?
I say start local, then we can talk about collaborating after we have those fundamentals.
Perfect, that works for me. Okay, so local. All right, so let's partition our list here. All right, so local stuff. We're going to talk about rebasing, git branch move, bisect. Let's say local workflow, and then just party tricks. Merge conflicts is collaboration. Multiple branches going. I'll move that up here, although a lot of the topics apply. Git versus GitHub. Let's leave that under Git. Under collaboration, moving the head applies. Reflog, we'll move that up here. All right, so we'll leave pushing into master. When to use force, that's kind of a collaboration-y thing, maybe. Git stash.
I don't think force is necessarily
Okay,
collaboration.
What's that?
I don't think force is necessarily collaboration.
That is true.
Sometimes you mess your own stuff up.
Sometimes you mess your own stuff up. That is definitely true. Okay, and so all right, so rebase. Okay, so are there any quick questions that we can answer in here? So git branch move. So let's Google that together. Branch move. So git branch move is to move, rename a branch and the corresponding reflog. Okay, so if I'm on a master branch, let's say, all right, so if I'm in here, all right, so let's just, we need to make an initial commit. Let's add our README. So this is our initial agenda. Okay, so if I were gonna make a new branch, so who creates their branches using git branch? Anybody? Yeah, all right, so checkout -b is how you should pretty much always create your branch. Okay, that's going to make a new branch and switch to it at the same time. Okay, more generally, I will almost always do a checkout master -b. Create me a new branch from master. So one of the common themes that comes up when you first start working with Git is, oh, I made a new branch, but it includes the stuff from my old branch. Okay, the problem is that you're branching from your branch, from your branch, from your branch. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll just make a master -b branch 1. So I'm just going to make, So commit allow empty allows me to make commits without actually doing anything interesting. So commit 1, commit 2. Oh, this is right in the way. That's going to be annoying. We'll put it all over here. Commit 3. All right, so if I look at my log, so you might notice that my log looks a little bit different from yours. I use the heck out of config. Was it log.pretty, log.format? I don't know what it is. What is my config? Oh, format, no, format pretty equals. Maybe this is what I'm talking about here. So I have basically, I don't remember exactly what the setting is, but I think it's this one, that you can basically override how does Git format your logs by default. So I have it set up so that I always just get a small little preview rather than like, I don't care who made the commit. I don't care when it was most of the time. You can always override that by choosing something like pretty equals full, which will show you who made the change and when. Okay. So Git tip number, however many we're on, number 17, let's say, use configuration. Okay. Use the heck out of configuration. You can make your Git your own. That includes setting up aliases so that you don't have to type out big stuff and you can type small stuff. But then there are also just a whole bunch of cute little settings. You can say, for example, the dates. Always show me dates in relative, like 2 days ago, 3 days ago, 2 hours ago, rather than times. So you can set config like log.date equals relative or something like that. And it'll always show you by default that this is 2 days ago, 3 days ago, 3 months ago, which is often more useful than, oh yeah, this was 7 p.m. yesterday. Who cares? This was yesterday, 1 day ago. That's good enough. Yeah, I mean, git config, the docs for git config are like 200 pages. So just like over your lunch break, just read them for fun. That's what I do. And you can just find all sorts of cute stuff inside. Can I share my config file with you? Yes, I will get Marie a sanitized git config. And yeah, Marie, please remind me to do that. Okay, so anyway, so what a lot of people do is then they'll say git checkout -b, I want to work on something else, feature 2. And then they'll start making changes, so this is our commit number 4. Oops. And commit number 5. Commit number 6. All right, and then they go push this up to GitHub and they say, make me a pull request. And what they see is I have 6 commits on my branch. Okay, because I made my feature 2 branch off of branch number 1. So I have everything from branch 1 in my branch 2. And so when I open up this pull request. All right, so if you mess that up, we've got git rebase to the rescue. Oh no. Rebase isn't gonna like empty commits. Okay, so let's go back to Matt, or we'll just recreate this real quick. Okay, so reset master. Let's look at that. So what did I just do? Reset master, my feature 2 is now on master. Okay, so reset is the command someone had asked, forcibly moving head. So I just said, cool, well, I was over here, change where my branch is back over here instead. So that's what reset does. It's one of the things that reset does. Okay, so we moved our feature 2 back to master. And actually, I'm gonna switch over to my git checkout branch, checkout branch 1. I'm also gonna reset this to master. I'm gonna go ahead and delete my feature 2 because that didn't work. Okay, so let's make some changes on our branch 1. What did we change up here? Did we actually change something? All right, so branch 1's gonna get our index.html, add index.html, and then maybe let's add something to our HTML. So maybe we'll add a title here of Git is fun. All right, so let's add my index changes again, git commit, Git is fun. And then we say, all right, well, I want to work on my new branch, feature 2. And maybe let's make a change to our README. I don't remember what we changed in here. What does it think changed? Oh, there's a whole bunch of stuff that changed. Okay, fine. Git add. So let us change our let's update our agenda. Okay. So now if I do my git log again, so now you'll notice again, my log for feature 2 includes all the changes from branch 1. Okay. Quick random question from Chad. How often should we commit? And my answer is more often than you are now. Okay. It is possible to commit too often, but you're not, is my general rule. Every commit should be easy to describe. If you ever put the word "and" in your commit message, it's probably too big. Yeah? Because at the end of the day, we want each commit to represent like a useful chunk of work. And useful chunks of work tend not to be, hey, I made the whole page, but it's like, oh yeah, I set up like the basic outline. I mean, like my index started with doc, HTML, head, body, nothing else. That's a good starting point because then I can start filling in content after the fact. As opposed to, oh, hey, I added an index.html with the whole design. Well, no, we've got like our little masthead, we've got a footer, we've got. Okay. Yes, commit early, commit often. Absolutely. Okay. All right, so the problem, all right, so we've run into the problem because our feature 2 now includes feature 1. Okay, another alias, so like I have this get new alias. Oh no, that's not gonna work for this project. So I'll just show you what it looks like, alias.new. So, all right, so I don't like glossing over errors. This is complaining because this is a local project for me. I don't have a origin that I'm connected to. Normally, I want to see what changes do I have since origin master. But I don't have an origin for this, so I need to make an equivalent alias. So what my new alias looks like is something like log changes since master or changes since origin. So master dot says show me all the changes after master until now. Okay, you can also write that as log master dash dot head. Okay. Try not to assume things. Head is Git's name for the current branch, the current commit. That is where I am right now. Okay, in my logs, head here points to feature 2 because I am on the feature 2 branch. Okay, so that's always what head means, the current commit where I am today. Okay, so log master dash dash head, and then I like to throw on a reverse here so that I see them in the order they'll show up on the pull request. And then if you don't have your format set like I do, you can also add on a dash dash 1 line. That's just a show me a summary of the commit. And so here now, if I type get new, this shows me these are the 3 changes on my feature 2 branch. These are the changes since master. Okay, so that's my Git tip number 75. Always think about branches as changes since master. Changes since master, changes since master. What have I changed since master is what a branch is. Okay, so in this case, feature 2 is meant to be a branch that updates our agenda, right? But we've got a problem. Our feature branch also includes some changes to the HTML. That's not great, yeah? So how can we fix this? Very common problem, okay? So this is where rebase can come in handy, all right? So rebase, you can think about rebase like, all right, so if merging is like shuffling a deck of cards, like I've got some commits over here and other people made commits over here and I'm just gonna kind of interleave them together, like bring them in and bring them in and bring them in and all that kind of stuff. Rebasing is cutting the deck. I'm going to take these changes and then put them on top of everybody else's changes. All right. So that's what rebase allows you to do. Rebase allows you to take a series of commits and essentially move them somewhere else in time. Most commonly is going to be, hey, rebase your changes onto master. Take all of my changes from way back here and move them up on top of the latest changes from master. Apply those changes after master. Okay. But you can specify that you want to go onto any point in time. So check this out. So I want to rebase my changes since branch 1. So give me all of my changes after branch 1 and put those onto master. So now when I get new, the changes from branch 1 are gone. Okay, so what this says is take all of my, so rebase my changes since branch 1 and move them somewhere else. If you don't include an onto, it's just going to move them onto branch 1. Like take all the changes from branch 1 and essentially leave them in place.
Could you show
but that onto allows us to say, hey, what's that?
Could you show the interactive version of rebasing as well?
I can. I absolutely can. Okay, but I want to close the loop. So feature 2, so we accidentally made a branch from a branch. So you can fix that by just saying, take all the changes since the old branch and move those onto master directly instead. So that's a common issue of I accidentally committed on another branch. So that's one thing that we can do there. And then now if I switch back to my branch 1, you see that the get new here is only my index, only my get is fun, my HTML changes, but not the feature 2 changes. Okay. Another get tip, get log -- graph will actually draw you a, oops. So graph -- all. So graph will show you a graph of the current commit. Graph -- all will actually show you kind of what your little history graph looks like for multiple branches. So here you can see that my branch 1 branched off of master. So this is my master commit. So this one branched off of master and feature 2 branched off of master. And I could say git checkout master -b feature 3. And maybe let's add some stuff to our body. It's going to have maybe a header. Semantic HTML is good. And maybe let's, we'll wait and add a footer some other time. Oh no, we've got a problem. Master doesn't have this file. Oh, go away, don't save my changes. Let's add something here. Hi. All right, so let's commit those changes. Hi. Whatever. Okay, so we've got those changes on there. And so now if I do my git log all, oops, forgot my graph. So here you can see now we have 3 different branches all based on master. So these 2 changes go back to master. This change kind of goes back to master. This change goes back to master. So you can use this to kind of give yourself a reference of where did I branch from? Is my branch out of date? All that kind of stuff. So you can give yourself a little bit of context. Okay, so using the log with the graph mode. Now this works best with one line.
What was
like
that?
if I'd put on the
when you committed that,
like this isn't useful. Yep.
When you committed hi, you put -am after commit.
I did.
Was that
so this is all right. So two things here. So the -m is what commit message should I use? So commit with the message hi. The -a says take all the changes that git sees and include them in the commit. So this is essentially the same thing as git add, git commit.
Oh. Ooh.
However, and so when I'm teaching, I don't tell students about -a. I start sneaking it in later, and sometimes they ask questions. But I don't teach git -a because -a doesn't pick up new files.
Oh, okay.
Okay. If git will by default ignore anything that you haven't specifically told it to care about. Okay. So if you have not added a file, then Git isn't going to include it here. But since this is a file that, that Git already knows about the README, git commit -a essentially says, yeah, I know what I changed, just commit it. Okay, so that's just kind of a shorthand, but you should only use that if you are very clear that you haven't added any new files and you know what's in them. Okay. All right, so we've got our feature through, we've got a whole bunch of stuff. So let's go back to our branch one. And I actually want to, I'm actually going to use that branch move and see if I can rename this branch one with a better name, HTML stuff maybe. All right, so now we're on an HTML stuff branch. So our HTML stuff branch, so maybe we're going to come in here, index.css, that's fine. Body is blue. If I were green, I would die. And then we'll add a link. All right, so another fun thing that I like to do. So I want to, and then maybe we'll add an H1 here that says, let's add a footer. I do type quickly. If I'm glossing over anything, please tell me to slow down. The point is in HTML. So let's say copyright today. All right, so as I'm going through here, I'm thinking, oh gosh, I've got a problem. I've made two different changes. One, I added a footer. Two, I added my CSS. And I really don't want to include those as the same change, right? Like logically, I am not going to talk on Vim. Logically, we have two separate changes. One is adding our CSS file. The other is adding our footer. All right, so I would like to break this up into two different changes. Yeah? But now, all right, now by show of hands, by show of virtual hands, who has accidentally made more changes than you meant to before you committed? Nobody? Meg has, just Meg.
Definitely.
Or are you just not thinking in terms of my commits aren't too big?
That's what Git Kraken's for.
That's what, so Git Kraken. So Git Kraken does the whole like right click on this line and stage this but not the others. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, you can stage by line.
Yeah, you can stage by line. So from the command line, that's called a patch-wise add. Git add -p. So git add -p here is going to ask us, hey, do you want to commit this change? And my answer is, actually, this change is too big. I want to split that change in half. So here, do we want to commit adding our style sheet? Yeah, let's commit that.
Oh my God.
Do we want to commit the footer? No, not yet.
If I'd known this, I could have been using this all the time.
You could have, which is why I'm here.
Thank you.
So git add -p. So git add -p, git stash -p, stash just part of my changes. Git reset -p, unstage part of my changes. Git checkout -p, discard some of my changes. Okay, so you can do a whole bunch of p-ing to get parts of your changes in and out of Git. All right, so you'll notice here, so my prompt here shows me I have some changes ready to commit and some changes aren't ready to commit. All right, so if I do my git di, so git di is a config alias.di. So di is an alias for diff -- staged, which will show changes you have staged to commit, added to commit, but haven't committed yet. So I do a git di all the time. What have I prepared to commit? Okay, so I see that I've got my index.css. But I've got a problem. I don't actually have my index.css. I have a reference to it, but I'm not actually adding the file. So we could just say, all right, fine, go add the file directly, whatever. Or we can, so when I did the add -p, it didn't find the index.css. But there is this thing called intent to add. And I do this enough that I even have an IA alias. The alias looks like this. Git add intent to add. So I can say, hey, Git, I intend to add all the files that exist right now. Now, if I do an add-p, all right, do we want to add this particular file? We could say yes, we could say no. Or I'm gonna do a little party trick. I'm gonna mark that to edit. If I say edit, I can actually come in here and make some changes. What if I wanted to go red instead? Do we want to stage the footer? No, we don't. All right, so now look at this. So in my index, we are about to commit that the body color is red. Look at my CSS file, it's still blue. So we are about to commit color is red. And now if I look at the changes that are left, we see it changes from red to blue. So you're actually able to commit into Git some changes that never existed on your computer. Now, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to do that? These are stupid tricks. All right, so why would you want to do that? If I renamed a method, because as I was changing it, I realized that there's a better name. Well, but what if I also added a parameter, or I changed the return type from a string to an int or something, who knows? So I could actually make a commit that is the rename without committing the extra parameter. So I would just go find that one line that was said, oh, hey, function went from red to blue and added an additional. So imagine that I also had a color blue and background color is orange. So I could come in here and make this line look however I want it to look, commit that change, and then the next change says, all right, cool. Now that we've renamed this method, let's add a parameter to that method. Logically, these are two separate things. This is what I mean when I say Git change the way I write code, because I mentally now separate the commit message for rename method from add parameter to method. These are two different things in my head. Some people would say, Keith, you're wasting your time. I disagree, because logically I've done two different things. Adding that parameter might accidentally break things, but the rename shouldn't, right? Rename is a pure refactoring, should be no change in behavior at all. Adding a parameter might affect some change. So if I can separate out, hey, did the rename break something? Or did the new parameter break something? Now we're talking. We're communicating better about our intent. Over here, I want to rename a method. Over here, I want to add a parameter. Okay? So that brings us around to something called bisect. Bisect allows you to binary search in your code. Okay?
Hey,
So
Keith,
I'm actually going to, yes, Meg.
before you move past this intent to add, I don't think I fully understand what it
did?
Like the name change versus the parameter, like adding a parameter. Which one are you wanting to do in the terminal after the intent to add? And when you do this, are you always calling this intent to add on all files?
So the intent to add is specifically for, I have a new file that I want to commit. Okay, so I just added my index.js. If I add -p here, we're going to get the background color, don't stage that, don't stage that. It didn't even ask me about my index.js because Git doesn't know about the file. Okay, so intent to add specifically solves the problem of, hey, Git, you should care about this file. The only time you ever need to do intent to add is if you wanted to do like an add-p and see a file.
Okay, and that's for
so that's what intent to add does. Yes. So now that I've intent to added the file, now when I add -p, it's going to ask me about the index.js. So do I want to commit this? Yeah, let's get some of this noise out of the way. All right, so I'm going to type Q. I am only going to commit the blue-orange change. All right, git commit blue-orange. If I do my get new is my muscle memory. So here we've done get is fun, color is red, blue, orange. Now let's add -p. Let's go do our footer. Again, quit, add a footer. Get new, orange, red, orange, blue, add a footer. Get add -p. And so now we've got our, all right, so initial index.js. Okay, so boss comes in and says, you know what, I would rather it be X and Y. And then maybe down here, I'm going to be calling add stuff with 1 and 2. And I'm going to add stuff with 3 and 4. Okay, so as you're going in here, really we've got two kind of separate changes. I mean, I don't even need to do anything. That's fine. Okay, so we've got two separate changes, because what if the boss also comes in here and says, hey, I want you to just call it add. I think add's a better name for it. Okay. So we've made, all right, so I'm going to A and B. Let's give ourselves an actual method. All right, so add -p. So for one, when we did our initial add stuff, I forgot something. I forgot the actual A plus B. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this one to edit and say, you know what? I just want to commit that I added my, and let's say no. All right, so now what I'm about to commit is just my return A plus B. Okay. So really that belongs in my initial index.js. I'm going to do what's called an amend here. Git commit amend says combine the stage changes into the previous commit. Okay, so my initial index.js should have had the A plus B. We just forgot to include it. So I'm going to go ahead and amend that commit, initial AJX. We can even change the method here with an add, with our add stuff in it. And now if I show that commit, we see our add stuff return A plus B. So far, so good. And so now as I'm looking at the rest of our changes here, we've got two sets of changes, or rather we could. So what if the boss said, you know what, we actually want it to be X and Y, not A and B. But also we want to rename the method and maybe add some usages for it. So I'm able to logically come in here and say, you know what, the first thing that I want to do is let's just do the rename. Okay, so I'm just going to make this diff look like the diff that I need it to be. So this should still be A and B, but we're just going to rename add stuff to add. And then let's add those as well. Okay, so now I'm about to commit renaming add stuff to add and calling it a couple times. And then separately use XY instead of AB, for example. And so now here I've told a different story because I did two different things. I changed some parameters inside. I changed the outward name. Logically, I think of those are potentially two separate changes. And so now if we, so like Marie had mentioned revert. All right, I just want to revert the XY change. Okay, so now I've reverted the XY change. We see we've got A and B here, but the add rename didn't get reverted because our change only did one thing, the XY, not the XY and the AB. Okay, so these are the things that you can start to kind of do. You can commit whatever you want to. And so as I'm working on stuff, and so, all right, so I'm going to add a function, multiply A and B, return A times B. All right, so I'm glad that that is done, but I want to come over here and let's put a header back in. Our header should probably have an H1 high. Oh, I forgot to commit the multiply stuff though. Add -p. What do I have ready to commit? Oh, I don't want to commit this yet. I only want to commit add my mult function. And now I know that the only changes I have left are add a header. So as you're going through here, I pretty much always commit using add-p. Nearly always, because I want to see what I have changed. This is, this is what a lot of folks use the Git UIs for, the Git Krakens, and the VS Code has its own little preview over here. It allows you to see what you're about to commit. Okay, and so you can start to tell a story. So we've built up a whole bunch of different changes on here. We had our initial CSS where the color was red, but then the boss asked for orange on blue. Then we added a footer, and then we added add stuff, but then we renamed it and then separately refactored the parameter names and then added our new function and then. So we're able to start storytelling. Okay.
Hey, Keith.
And then this allows us to say, hey, let's revert. Yes.
So you're doing like obviously a lot of moving and committing and everything. When you do have a remote, how often do you actually push? Because it seems like that would be another step in this process if you push to commit and then you're like, oh wait, and then had to roll back some things.
Yeah, that's a good question. So how often do I push? I push as soon as I have something I would be sad to lose. If my hard drive died right now, would I be sad to lose this change? If I would, then I push it somewhere else as a backup. Okay. So if you have that workflow of I'm just going to push pretty regularly, you could run into the situation of, oh yeah, I want to amend this commit because I forgot to, I don't even remember what I forgot in the amend. Oh, I forgot the actual math. So I did that commit amend. If you have pushed a commit and then you amend it, Git's going to complain that you're out of sync, that your branch is behind origin is usually the message that you'll get. And so the short answer there is, if it's a branch that you own and you're not collaborating with anyone, then you can just force push because it's your branch and you're kind of playing in your own sandbox. If you are playing in a sandbox with other people, yeah, so that's where you would do a git push -- force. If you're playing with other people, I would, so for example, as a concrete example, oh no. All right, so let's say I didn't want this extra line here. I'm a stickler for white space. We have an extra line in that index.js. All right, so as I'm looking through here, it's really this rename add stuff. So this is the commit that had that extra new line there that we just didn't want. Okay, like this new line there we didn't want. So I'm collaborating with other people. I don't want to necessarily force push and potentially disrupt their workflow and stuff. So this is a good segue to, there's something called a fix-up. So I'm going to go ahead and do a fix-up for this particular commit, the rename add stuff. What this is saying is the changes that I've staged, I want Git to combine into some previous commit. Okay, so I could either say git fix up with that specific number, the 349E4EA, that's what Git calls the hash. You'll hear folks talk about the SHA or the hash of a commit. The other thing I can do though, and I do this far more often, I can just count backwards, head 1 commit earlier, 2, 3, 4. So I want to go 4 commits before head. So head ~4 is 4 commits before head. So commit fix up head ~4 says, I want you Git to combine this change into commit 4 commits ago, into rename add stuff. But I want you to do that later. All right, I'm gonna have bad romance in my head now, and I am not gonna forgive you, Nick. Okay, so you'll notice that made a new commit called fixup. Okay. And so then I can just push that out to Git. So this git commit -- fixup just made a commit call for me called fixup with the name of a previous commit that I want it to combine into. You know, so let's say, I mean, so we could also do the same thing here. You know, maybe when we do the background color orange, we actually don't want it to be blue. We want it to be light blue. That was just a typo. That was just a mistake. Or maybe I forgot a semicolon. Maybe, I mean, who knows what stupid little stuff. There was a typo. I don't care what. So now we have another change. All right, let's add that change. Git commit. I'm going to mark this one as a fix up for my blue orange. Now, I don't want to count how many that is, so I'm just going to copy it and paste it. All right, so now I've got a fix up here, got a fix up here. So this is a great way to handle like pull request feedback. Someone gives you pull request feedback, and you're like, oh yeah, I've addressed this feedback. And the feedback was just, oh yeah, there's a typo, you forgot an S. Oh, the formatting's a little bit wonky here. Can you fix the indentation? All right. As I'm thinking about Keith in the future, Keith doesn't want to see a commit that says, oops. Keith doesn't want to see a commit that says fix typo. Keith wants to see a commit that said added a multiplication function, change the colors from blue to orange. Okay. So by fixing up our changes, we're able to rewrite history, is a common term, to tell a better story. The story that we want to tell in the future isn't, oops. The story we want to tell in the future is, oh yeah, we changed to use our brand colors. So as you get feedback on your pull requests, if it's just trivial stuff, you can fix those up into the previous commit. So I commit a fix up, I commit a fix up. I push those up to GitHub. And I say, hey, Marie, did I address your feedback? She says, yes. All right, cool. Before we merge, let me clean up history. So that's where our rebase -I interactive is an interactive rebase. And you need to tell it, where do I want to change things from? I want to change everything since master. Is fixup automatically added? Yes, fixup is automatically added. That's a magical string. And you'll see why in just a little bit. So you'll know, so rebase -I gives us our commit list. So you'll notice that this list of commits here is identical to that get new list that we saw. We added in next git is fun, colors red, orange, blue, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But you'll notice this. So so this is what's called the to-do list. The to-do list for a rebase says, I want you to commit this and then this and then this, and you're giving it instructions. So pick says include this commit. But we could just like say, oh, hey, I want you to drop that instead. Let's drop this commit. I don't like that change anymore. And then we're going to have our colors red and then blue, orange. And then notice this commit here is marked as a fix-up. Fix-up says combine this change into the previous one. And then added a footer, initial.js, renamed it, we fixed the rename to get rid of that extra space. We've got our XY instead of AB, then that got reverted. If I committed this and then immediately reverted it, maybe we should just make all those go away. So I could tell it to drop both of these. So let's make that part of the history go away. We changed our mind. And then we added multiplication. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and, you know what, I'm going to grab a screenshot of this just so that we have it around for reference. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save this file. Oh no, we ran into a conflict. That actually wasn't on purpose, but that's fine. All right, so let's talk about conflict resolution a little bit. So as I was rearranging my history, it got a little bit confused because I told it to drop that git is fun. And then I told it to add a style sheet right next to it. So it's confused because it doesn't know, like, should I keep the git is fun? Should I put the, so I just need to make this look like I want it to. So in this case, all right, so we got rid of git is fun. We're only going to keep our index. The key to merge conflicts is just make the file look like you want it to look. Like all the markers and stuff, make all the markers go away. The file needs to look correct. Once it looks correct, add the file and move on. Okay. So since our color is red, also added the index.cs, not a great commit message. I apologize. 15-minute warning. I assumed I was 15 minutes over. All right, so I assume y'all will just leave when you're bored, or you need to like work or work. Anyway, so I have fixed my changes. Git add to mark the conflict as resolved. Git rebase -- continue allows me to keep going. Rebase continue, I do that enough that I have an RBC alias so that I can just type RBC instead of rebase continue. All right, it wants to confirm now that I had to resolve that conflict, is this still accurate? A good chance to say add index with color red. All right, so we have now ended up at a spot where our index.html doesn't have git is fun anymore. We've got our header, we've got our footer. CSS has light blue, index.js has our add and our multiply. What does our git history look like? All right, so this was our to-do list over here. So add index, git is fun just went away altogether. So as we tell the story of tonight, any Hamilton fans? Yes, no? So git is fun is just gone. Then we did color is red, but we fixed the commit message because we had forgotten to mention that we added the index.js. So index.css, so our color is red. We actually ended up renaming it. Then we've got blue-orange. The fix up here went away. Added a footer, added index. The fix up here for rename add stuff went away. The whole use X, Y, and revert it went away. Multiply header. So this history here looks a lot cleaner, tells us a better story. If I show our individual blue-orange commit, light blue, we never had the blue anymore. Oh, my bad, I forgot what our brand colors were. So we'll just commit this for posterity as if we had used the correct color all along. It's not useful that you typoed the color name a year from now. History is an asset. Your Git history is an asset. A year from now, I want to be able to look back at this file and know why this line changed. Oh, because we used our brand colors, which were light blue and orange, not blue. Okay, so what we end up with here is a nice clean Git history after we've been able to say, hey, Marie, check out these fixes for your feedback. Oh yeah, I got rid of the stray line. Fix the color. And then now push this out to GitHub. Cool. History looks good. Changes look correct. We'll do it live. Okay. So this is some of the stuff that's possible. All right. So I'm probably scaring you because like, well, what if I break it? What if I break it? All right. Before we did the rebase, option 1, git branch HTML stuff backup just in case I mess this up. You can make yourself a branch here just in case you screw it up. Or let's go look at our reflog. All right, deep inside of Git. So there's a .git refs heads folder. So .git refs heads is the ref log included in here. So I can, let's just dump the file, heads/HTML stuff. Well, that's underwhelming. It was supposed to have other stuff in there. Oh, no. I'm in the wrong place. Logs/heads. Log/nogs heads. Refs heads HTML stuff. All right. Now, this file here is a list of all of the things that we've done. Now, we don't want to go to files. So git reflog shows me all the things I did. Okay, so right now it shows me that HTML stuff is on CCCE5D, which was a finished rebase after we picked the header and multi and we did a fix up with our pickup here and our this and our this and our this. So we did a rebase continue here After we did our index CSS, we did a rebase start here, we committed fix up, reverted. So this is a log of all the things you did to your branches. All right, this is the log for head. We can do a log just for our HTML stuff branch. So these are all the things we did specifically on this branch. We committed, reverted. We did a rebase. That rebase finished. So if you mess something up, all I have to do is say, oops, let's go back to here. Now look at my get new. That's my old history. My index has get is fun. Okay, so the cardinal rule of Git, if you have committed it, you can get it back. So all of these stupid party tricks, if you make a mistake in your party trick, git rebase -- abort. Gosh, that screwed up too. Let me look at my ref log. Let's go back to the last time I committed something. All right, cool. I got back to my changes. Let me start over. Let me try that again. Okay. So all of that git foo just went away and we're back to, we have the use accident revert and. And we can use the ref log to say, all right, cool. Well, we actually changed our mind. We did like it before. Take me back to the CCC instead. Yeah. So that's probably about as much git foo as I can cram into your heads today. I am glad to come back. We're just getting started. But like this sort of story, essentially today's theme has been Git storytelling. You want your Git history to reflect what you tried to do, what you meant to do. And there are two parts of that. One is as you're going along, add your changes, add -p. Did I mean to, I didn't mean to commit this. How many times, Marie, have we said, oh, I was trying something, but we don't want that change anymore? Most people are just going to git add .git commit and off we go. And now we've got a stray change we had forgotten we even made. So git add -p gives me a chance to check, oh yeah, I didn't mean for that change to get committed. I'm not ready for that yet. So git add -p, I like this, I don't like this. Commit those changes, commit some more changes, commit some more changes. And now we end up telling a nice story of how did this feature evolve? I added a new method. I added a parameter to an existing method. But first I renamed it because I think we understand now that here's a better name for it. Okay. So git add -p along with its cousins reset checkout stash -p. Using your aliases. I use git new. I probably type git new 100 times a day. Probably more than that, honestly. Because I always think in terms of what's on my branch that isn't in master. So git new gives me a very easy way to say, all right, show me the changes since master. Show me the changes since master. Show me the changes since master. Does it look like I want it to? All right, cool. My git new looks good. Add -p, add -p, add -p. And off we go. Okay. And all of this is trying to communicate to people. You're communicating to your reviewers, to your future self. What am I trying to do? When I'm reviewing a pull request, I like to review commit by commit. First commit just copies this file. Second commit makes interesting changes to that file. Third commit adds some new functionality. Fourth commit, refactor. Fifth commit, also refactor, but two different refactorings. Yeah? So, Git storytelling. Questions in our last 5 minutes?
I have one kind of related to, I guess, project workflow. So in the forum code base, we squash all our merges. So some other teams that I've worked on, they like to include all the commits that are in there. And I think they both have advantages and disadvantages. just curious of your thoughts on it. Like the way I see it, like say I released feature A, when we go to squash my branch, we can say that's feature A. And there's no like, 20 or however many commits I had originally in my pull request. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on both those workflows.
Well, I think you can guess my thoughts. Because because frankly, if we've put effort into crafting a story, a squash merge takes that story and condenses it, shall we say? So the main so there are lots of professionals who are good at their jobs who love squash merges, and I can disagree with them while still acknowledging that they're wrong. I'm just
that's keeping me trash talking in 2020.
you will find some people who are viscerally opposed to my notion of pretending that history was anything other than what it was. There are some people who strenuously object to any sort of rebase. And from their perspective, they're saying, all right, well, but that's not what we committed. You are now committing, you're pushing something different. My stance is that a year from now, the history that you build with rebasing and not squashing is more useful than a squashed history. That's the entirety of my argument. History is an asset that you can invest in. Like all of this takes time, but if you invest in it, there is a payoff down the road. That's my stance. And so, so if you were on a squash merge change. So for everyone's reference, a squash merge is when you take a commit or a branch with like 10 commits, and then when it comes into master, instead of basically making a little so remember so let's just check out master, git merge my HTML stuff. No fast forward. I'm not going to talk about what that means. So, oops, give me my graph. So we made some changes on our branch, and then we have the merge pull request number 1. Okay. The alternative is, so we could do like git merge squash feature 3. And then I can go ahead and commit this and say squashed feature 3 or whatever. So now if I look at it, let's do my graph all. Let's do my graph dash all. So notice that this squashed feature 3 commit here has no relationship to this commit down here. Whereas this commit has the little line that says this commit came from these 5, 10, however many changes, okay? So this branch is still out there until somebody deletes it, but we have no easy way to tell that that branch was merged. So that's a little annoying. And we've lost track of the fact that we have these kind of nice granular sorts of things, like this rename. What if this rename went bad? If I have a squash merge, I don't see that somebody tried to rename. All I see is, hey, we got some HTML stuff.
Yeah, like
which on balance is less useful.
Yeah, like I mean, I can see the advantage of it not being squashed if you need to bisect to figure out where it broke. So it's,
right.
I don't know. I've kind of always just gone with because these things are usually determined, unless it's a greenfield project, they're usually determined like whenever you show up at a workplace. So, you can, I don't know.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm just like, okay, well, that's how we're doing it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the same thing with tabs and spaces. I don't care what your preference is. The first rule is use what the current project uses. Period. I don't care if you really like tabs. If the project uses spaces, then when in Rome, use spaces like the Romans do. And the same thing here. Like if our project only does squash merges, then that's fine. You could make the case that, hey, so I know I'm new here and I'm just kind of getting the lay of the land, but here are advantages I found to not squashing. So if we're open to it, I'd be glad to try and demonstrate some of the benefits. But if you've already had the debate, I'm happy to do what the project does because I'm a team player. But my preference is rebased with a merge bump, essentially. Rebase the branch before you merge it so that it's based on the latest master, and then have a clean, you know, so essentially it ends up looking like bloop, 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 just nice, clean merge of the next, of the next, of the next, of the next, of the next. In practice, if you've got two branches open at the same time, like it's a race to get who doesn't, like that can be a waste of time. And so like, I don't strive for perfection there, but I do think it's the most communicative to the future for bisecting, for reverting, you know, because if I want to revert just the blue orange, if I squashed, I have to revert the whole commit.
Yeah.
As opposed to reverting a surgical. So it's those kinds of things that I do enough that I prefer not to squash.
Yeah.
All right.
But it's a preference, it's subjective.
Yeah, I think we've got to stop.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think we're gonna.
Yeah, are we out of time?
We're gonna wrap up here. Yeah. But I think we have proven
Okay.
that we have plenty of more things to talk about, and I will. I promise that.
How did we do on our agenda? We did a little conflicts. Oh, this isn't even the correct agenda. So we did a get branch move. We did rebasing, cherry picking. We didn't talk about. We talked about. I didn't rant on stash. Yeah, we've got some more to cover someday.
Always plenty more to cover, I think. I want to say, a special thank you to Keith for coming, and I imagine we will hopefully be seeing him again soon. I was, I don't know, I very much appreciated this and learned some things. Thank you also to Marie for dragging him in to hang out with all of us. And
It's no problem at all.
Yeah, we look forward to keep, we can if anybody wants to keep talking, we can talk in Slack about Git and everything like that. If anybody has any general in the future, virtual coffee specific questions, feel free to reach out to the leadership team. It's me and Kirk, Becca, Sarah, and Brian. So we're always around. And unless anybody has anything else to add, I think that'll be it for today. Thank you again, everybody, for coming, and we will see you next time.